Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to the Guide to Being an Entrepreneur. Today we're going to talk about MVP, which is not the most valuable player, but the minimum viable product. To get the minimum viable product, you have to cut your product in half at least twice, which is alarming to a lot of entrepreneurs because they work so hard on a product and they work so hard to get their product to a certain level. But when you're assessing everything, you have to think, I need to get down to the bare minimum, and I need to be able to get a beta version and test what really is driving my success or my failure. So getting a minimum viable product by cutting your product in half twice is going to be painful to do, but it definitely is necessary. What you're going to want to do is tie your minimum viable product to your UVP, your unique value proposition, which is benefits of use minus cost of use. And that's basically saying that the reward is outweighing the cost of what the product is. And you can think of this by saying, how is my product different? How is my product better than everyone else's? How does it stand out, even if it's not exactly that much better in its technology? And I'll give you two examples of this. One is Ucrops. Ucrops was in the Martins Plaza, in the Village Plaza, right off campus. Ucrops was wildly successful because of its community feel and how it was connected to the University of Richmond community and the community around here. So people would go there over other stores because the home feel, the feel that it was a community-based store that, you know, maybe didn't have better foods or better prices, but it was that feel that they were connected to us and they were a part of our community, and that's what drove sales and made them so successful. And then you see how different it is because Martin's took its place and it's not doing as well. People are starting to go to different places like Kroger or Elwood Thompson's because they don't have that unique value proposition. Ucrops had a lot of the same products that Kroger had and a bunch of the other different grocery stores had, but it had that value proposition that set them apart from everyone else. And Martin's doesn't have that, and you can see it now because they're struggling so much. So make sure you have some type of unique value proposition. Another one I'd like to mention is Apple. Apple doesn't have that much better technology from, let's say, Samsung, but it does so much better in its profitability because of the customer base and the brand equity that it has. It has unique value that people love Apple and love its products and its simplicity and compatibility with its different products. And that value proposition really sets it apart from things like Samsung and the other competitors in that market. So make sure you have your minimum viable product and your UVP set out and defined so that you can identify it and use it to your advantage. An example of the minimum viable product and getting it down to its very core, very base, is Instagram. Instagram had a lot of different functions for its application, and it did a lot of research, and it said, well, our biggest attraction is photo sharing. People really like the photo sharing part of Instagram. So they actually changed their whole entire company, the entire application. They said, we're only going to do photo sharing. We're not going to do anything else, any of the functions that we had before. And it's been widely successful ever since, been bought by Facebook and a billion-dollar app. So it's that ability to get down to the bare minimum of what people really want so that it's not diluted. Your UVP is not diluted in any way. And then you can use that and make sure that you can grow from it and have that profitability that is promised. You also want to talk about when you have your UVP and your MVP, you want to be able to identify if your product or service is a pain reliever or a vitamin. And what I mean by this is, a vitamin, I'm sure as you remember as a kid, your mom would say, take your vitamins every day, and you'd say, well, I don't need my vitamins. I feel fine, I'm healthy, I feel good, Mom. And she would say, well, it's good for your health, and although you don't feel bad now, it's going to help you later down the road. And you never would because you didn't need to, and they didn't taste that great. But that was something suggested for you. And you need to be able to say, is my product something suggested compared to a pain reliever, which is a necessity. And when you were a kid and you went outside and you were playing with your friends and you hit your head on a tree and you came in and you said, Mom, my head hurts a lot, and she said, okay, here's a pain reliever, and you definitely took it because your head hurt a lot. That was a necessity. So being able to identify if your product is a necessity or a suggestion and how that can affect the profitability and how people consume your product is huge in the startup business, because that'll help you in marketing ways and how to distribute in different ways. So make sure that you have the MVP identified, the UVP identified, and then if you can identify if it's a pain reliever or a vitamin, that will greatly help your startup be successful and grow to different lengths. Thank you for joining in today, and we'll see you next time.